Good morning, I'm Janet Mbugua, and this morning we're talking about phone addiction. Change to my phone is the title. I'm Janet Mbugua, and this is my story. They say every journey begins with a single step, and mine began right here at this bus stop. In 2003, I was 19, I was nervous, I was hopeful, and I was just starting at my first job, Capital FM, one of the biggest stations. I mean, as a 19-year-old, I think about it and I'm like, I don't know where I got that courage, but I did. I hopped off the bus and I stepped into my journey. And there began my journey into radio and media, and I did a show for almost a year. So this was home. This is where I did a daily show, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. every single weekday at Capital FM. It was called the Mid-Morning Magazine. I was so happy because I was going for it. So I was really excited to be in there.
At 19,
yeah.
Man.
And I just keep thinking about, I was 19. I think I just had a lot of drive and passion. And I was very honored to be working with some of the greatest names at the time, some of whom are still active even now. And so I covered a lot of big stories, I did a lot of big interviews, and really cemented my knowledge on media, I would say. So that's how my journey continued. I just kept walking into one after the other, and then I walked into the next journey that would change my life forever, and that's TV.
It's been an absolute pleasure and honor hosting this show.
And this is where my career in television began. I&M Building at the Standard Group as a presenter at KTN. Now, who knew that I'd break so many more stories? Because the first major one I broke was actually back on radio when the death of Kijana Wamalwa in 2003. I remember that being a very somber Saturday afternoon. 2007, I came to KTN. This story is so funny. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone. And I went in there because my parents had told me, tafuta job, you've just come from uni. So I went in and I told them, I'm Janet, and I'm looking for a job. I'm even willing to start by serving tea. I literally said that because I think I was willing to start from anywhere just to get my foot in. Now, I think that made the receptionists feel some type of way about me. They're like, okay, she doesn't look like she's Kimbelembele. So they spoke to Gabriel, the late, and they said, you know, there's a producer who's looking for a travel show presenter. Just wait till we call him. They gave him a call, I spoke to him, and he said, okay, why don't you come back tomorrow and let's talk. That's literally what happened. I had a coffee with him. He auditioned me with two other people, Pale Uhuru Park. And then he told me, just wait. And before I knew it, after a week, I was on the road. And that's how I became the host of Out and About on KTN. And I did that from around February of 2007 all the way till August of 2007. Let's now take the next step into the next chapter of my life. This next chapter in my life saw me step very boldly as a 23-year-old, joining an industry that at the time was very male-dominated or had a lot of older people. Now, I had to believe in myself. I did it afraid. I started as a travel show presenter, and then I became a news anchor. 23 years old, as a young woman in the industry, it wasn't very common. So even with all that fear and lack of really knowing what I'm doing, I became confident as I went along. I had some people hold my hand. I was anchoring and breaking stories, and during a very sensitive time in Kenya. Remember, it was 2007, and the country went through a very volatile period, and that's what made me a breaking news anchor. I started talking about some of the difficult stories. I became the person who would tie together the breaking stories and the news bulletins, along with some of my colleagues. And in 2009, at 25 years old, my journey to South Africa began. So it's 2009. And I step out onto the tarmac at the OR Tambo Airport. I'm in South Africa. And this begins my journey of covering the World Cup, right? So for 2 years, I was doing the World Cup prep, covering the World Cup. I even watched a match. I'm trying to remember which one. I think it was Argentina and Korea. It was a very different experience being a foreign journalist. But 2011, something started to push in me. I thought the elections in Kenya are starting soon, and I want to be back home. And that's when I began speaking with Citizen TV In 2011, in November, I joined the newsroom. And honestly, Citizen changed my life in many ways. It was the most watched station in the region, and I was co-hosting with somebody who was aligned with my principles of what it means to cover conversations.
Use our social media handles to delve into this discussion at Citizen TV Kenya. I don't know if that's now spoken.
Go ahead.
For 6 years, I covered 2 elections, one in Kenya, one in the US. I was also able to find my passion for impact because within that time in 2014, there was a story that tugged at me and many other people, a story about period poverty and stigma. And that's when I founded the Inua Dada Foundation, something that would carry on to date. And then in 2017, April, after 10 years non-stop of being a news anchor in Kenya and South Africa, I took a break from it all. I stepped back from my role as news anchor on Citizen TV.
This is actually my last Monday special on Citizen TV.
And began yet another chapter and journey of my life. It wasn't always easy. I walked with my sister and our family through her cancer treatment. Days of prayer, tears, hope. The kind of pain that almost breaks you, but it also builds you. But even then, I kept walking. Boldly, unafraid, confidently. But I wasn't walking alone. I had my community, I had people around me, my family, my closest friends, to the women who I may never even meet, some of the men who also played a huge role, but all the same, they cheered me along. And 8 years later, I've come full circle. This girl who left Mombasa many years ago to go to the CBD, traveled the world, and now I've come back here in Nairobi. This time I'm at Nation Center, fixing the nation one conversation at a time on NTV, broadcasts, which is where my journey began. And sometimes I think about, what is it that informed my bold steps? Why did I keep walking, even when the journey got tough? Because guess what? The journey gets tough. But I had people holding my hand. I grew, my community, my faith as well just kept me going, kept me moving, kept me walking boldly in every step, even when I was afraid. So what fuels your fire? What keeps you walking? We need to acknowledge those people who hold your hand, because guess what? She Walks is not just a moment, it's a movement. And so whatever you do, wherever you are, keep walking. It's not easy, but it's one step at a time. So keep walking.